Hey, you're wide receiver Khalil Shakir, right?
I sure am, kid. Here, go long.
Whoa! You're pretty good at football, man.
And you guys are pretty good at pizza.
Oh, sick. Dude.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Postgame Show podcast, presented by Picasso's Pizza here. It's a different. We're a little later than the Bills postgame. That game earlier, whatever happened, Bills lost. Honestly, the Bills losing, funniest possible outcome today. But the important thing is the Denver Broncos destroyed the B squad of the Kansas City Chiefs today, and we have our wild card matchup. We have the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos facing off in Orchard Park next Sunday, or Saturday, or Monday. Maniac, how we feeling? How we feeling about the Broncos and Bo Nix coming into town?
I think we're feeling as good as we can, Michael. We talked to some Bills fans today at Rec Room during the game that didn't matter for the Bills, but mattered in a lot of ways for the Patriots, and then they played that like a folly. But you knew coming into this week, Micah, that 20 of the 32 outcomes were the Broncos. You knew these last couple weeks it was shaping up. It was going to look like Chargers, Broncos. Again, maybe Bengals or Dolphins there at the last second. So my hope and my, praying for this team is that they have been kind of locking in on the Broncos for a week and a half now. They've been able to kind of zone in on them, and hopefully we have something drawn up for Sean Payton, Bo Nix. They have a lot of momentum right now, no doubt, Micah, but the Bengals did beat them a week ago. We do got to remember that.
They did, and this is not a perfect football team by any stretch of the imagination. Rookie quarterback, and we have to remember that. Like, anybody who's nervous right now, remember what Sean McDermott has looked like against rookie quarterbacks throughout his career. It's pretty good. It's been a pretty good track record. So I think the Bills should feel confident going into this matchup. Right now, what did we say? What did you say the line was? You just told me right before we came on. The opening line, I believe, is.
So I believe I'm going to look it up on a secondary say here. We got the line opening at about 7.5, which again, I think your knee-jerk reaction, which matches mine, is that's probably about right? You know, the Bills have been a solid team. Obviously, they've only have one loss over the last, not factoring today, one loss with the starters over the last, 3+ months here. So they've been solid. They've been 8-0 at home this year, obviously with the starters. So interesting to see that. Let me see if I could pull up the wild card spreads right now on the second side. Okay, so we got 2024 wild card. What do we got here? Losing my brain.
Don't lose that. Need that, Maniac. Come on. Need your brain.
I found
it in a.
Someone was doing predictions. Someone was doing predictions, and then I got. Okay, all right. We're pulling them up here. I'm pulling up the image.
Okay, all right. We got you.
There we go. Yeah, listen, guys. Performance issues. It happens to everybody. Okay.
Hey, these are live. This is fresh odds here. All right. We're doing the best we can here. What are we looking at?
We got Packers, Eagles. Eagles -3.5. Chargers, Texans. Chargers are -2.5. That doesn't surprise me, even with the Texans being the home team.
Yeah.
Steelers, Ravens -8.5. That doesn't surprise me, but I would definitely be pounding the Steelers and Mike Tomlin there, despite the success that Lamar has had and despite the success that the Ravens have had. Commanders, Bucks -3. I like that because I think that can go either way. And then you got Bills -7.5 for the Broncos. So Ravens and Bills in kind of a class of their own, Micah. And then you got some close games across the board for Wild Card Weekend.
It's gonna be. I'm so excited about all these matchups. Honestly, even the big spreads. Like I think both those games. There's a case that both those dogs cover. And I'm not saying that I'm not confident in the Bills, but there's a game script where this is a 27-20 Bills win. And you're hitting that 7.5. Vegas knew just what they were doing with that spread. And I think I'm with you with the Steelers too. With that Steelers-Ravens for a third time, you got to imagine it's going to be a close game when these teams get together like that. That's just what I'm thinking.
You make a good point with the 27-20. I think with a number like 7.5, listen, I'm not, making any kind of legendary point or, brand new point here. The back door is always open when you got a hook outside of one score. So 7.5. Backdoor will obviously be wide open. You could have a situation, Micah, where it's 24-14 Bills with 6 minutes left.
True.
Fans are feeling comfortable for the result-wise, but Bo Nix drives down, gets a late score. They get an onside kick attempt or something, and they don't get it. But, ends up being a 24-21 game there, something like that. Again, not taking Broncos for granted, though, because obviously they came in, they had a job to do today, Micah, and they did it, with flying colors, I guess, as they say.
Oh, stomped them. Yeah, they were locked in.
With that said, offense has been humming for the Bills all season. Broncos defense is obviously one of their strengths. With that said, Bo Nix, McDermott versus rookie quarterbacks. What advantage are you looking forward to out the gate here? Besides obviously home field, are you looking forward to the Bills offense against the Broncos defense? Or are you looking forward to that McDermott defense against the rookie QB?
So the advantage for the Bills would definitely be the defensive scheme against Bo Nix. Now, Sean Payton's an incredible schemer as well, and he's gonna devise up a scheme for Bo Nix that protects him a lot, right? That's kind of what their offense is, anyways. They run a lot of screens, a lot of short crossing routes. They throw a lot to their backs, so they're not going to take a lot of chances. They don't really have weapons on the outside to do that, anyways. So the Bills, and I think this is a strength of the Bills' defense, is keeping everything in front of them and making tackles in the open field. But this is a good way to attack the Bills' defense, especially because it's a good way to possess the ball and own the time of possession battle. So it's going to be a challenge, but I think McDermott's going to have, if Bo Nix is in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, the Bills are winning that game because I think McDermott will have him in hell. Conversely, on the other side, though, the most interesting matchup of this game is the Broncos led the NFL in sacks this year. A lot of that is because their secondary is great and quarterbacks have to hold on to the ball forever. And Josh Allen hasn't been sacked this year at all. The Bills were the fewest sacks allowed in the NFL. So it's a strength on strength matchup where Josh Allen doesn't get sacked and he's potentially going to win MVP facing a team that has sacked every quarterback they face this year. So that's really the biggest matchup of the game.
Yeah, we might be in a forever state where Josh Allen against whatever is always the advantage you're most looking forward to. Again, it doesn't take any shine off of it. Doesn't mean, there isn't advantages for McDermott to go against rookie QB. But, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, I mean, Micah, there are a number of reasons the Broncos, to me, are the perfect wild card team. You're not going to take them for granted. Of course, you weren't going to take a Burrow for granted. You weren't going to take a Tua Tagovailoa. You weren't going to take a Miami Dolphins for granted. But with the Broncos, you get a team that, came into your building basically 13.5 months ago and put a loss on you that was pretty much that was a big loss. We had a coordinator fired the day after, and the Bills eventually went on a run last year after that loss to make a wild card spot to get to the 2 seed. But I think that they'll still remember that fresh in their brains. There's a lot of players on his roster. I believe James Cook had a fumble early in that game, even though the Bills' offense played well in the second half. But I also think back to that game because, Russell Wilson didn't do very much, and the Broncos still found ways to be successful. I think of the Bills this year at home, Micah. I think to that Titans game, I think to that Cardinals game. There have been a couple games where against iffy offenses, they've kind of gotten slow starts. Now, again, both those games ended as blowout wins for the Bills. So would I take that result, in wild card weekend? Of course I would. But I've talked all season that even that 8-0 record, even everything, you can't afford a slow start in these playoff games just because they'll simply be working the clock against you 24/7 for that 60 minutes.
Yep. It's very well said. It's perfectly said. And that's exactly what the Broncos are going to try to do there. It's the smart way to attack this Bills team when they have a high-powered offense. And Sean Payton's a smart coach. That's the biggest. If you're asking me what the thing that worries me the most is that I do believe that Sean McDermott is an equal to Sean Payton. But Sean Payton is one of the best coaches we've ever seen, in our lifetime, that's for sure. And so this is his kind of opportunity in a playoff matchup. And Bo Nix, for all we can talk about him being a rookie, it's also an unknown because what if Bo Nix turns into a god all of a sudden in the playoffs? He's just built for it. Now, here's what I will say as an avid college football watcher. Bo Nix in big games, it's never really worked out for Bo. When it's come down to the biggest games, Bo turns a little chaotic, turns into a little bit of a bowler coaster.
Definitely a bowler coaster. We're gonna be holding.
He does,
on.
and I'm not just saying that because they're I was not a Bo Nix believer coming into the season because I thought it'd be a little too chaotic. Peyton's kind of coached that stuff out of him, but we'll see what kind of habits come up, because it's one thing to go 10-7, like great season, guys. You went 10-7, but they didn't. What's the good team they beat this year? Maniac, because you're looking at their schedule. They did beat the Buccaneers in week 3, very early in the season. The Bucs were hurt.
And I want to give credit where it's due. They did play the Chiefs pretty well in Arrowhead like a month-ish ago. Again, they fucking blew it, and it was a big factor in everything going over for sure. But they definitely played pretty well.
The week before that, they were in Baltimore, got smoked 41-10. So that's a result that wasn't great for them. Their wins, Maniac. The Bucs is a decent win, but then we're talking Jets, Raiders, Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Raiders, Browns, Colts, Chiefs.
Yeah, like about a month ago, they let up 32 points to the Cleveland Browns. Now I know, again, there may have been some crazy way they got there or whatever, but they got 34 scored on them by the Chargers. They got 30 scored on them by the Bengals in overtime. Yep. So those are all in the last month, Micah. All those results that they've allowed 30 points. So there's all this film of how teams have put 30 points up on the team. And I just feel like if you put 27 plus up against the Broncos, you're feeling pretty good.
I would feel pretty good about that. And I feel pretty good about the Bills scoring 30 points in every game they go into in this playoff run. I mean, I think you should, if you're a Bills fan, after the run they've been on. So it's up to Denver to Denver either has to effectively shorten that game in a way that they haven't been able to do with these teams, or Denver's going to have to keep up. And I don't know if Denver can keep up with the Bills if they get into the 30s. So the Bills, yeah, it's a tricky matchup if things break the right way, but it could, the walls could fall out for the Broncos real quick here. Like,
yeah, of course. Like, Micah, what if the Bills get the same start they've gotten the last 3 wild card games they've played? 3 wild card games ago against the Patriots, perfect game. They get off to a 14-0 start with 2 Dawson Knox touchdowns right away. Against the Dolphins 2 years ago in the wild card, I think it was a 17-0 start before the wheels kind of fell off for the Bills mill there. But the Broncos won't survive those kind of starts, and they won't survive a start like last year where the Bills come out, boom, Dawson Knox, boom, Dalton Kincaid, boom, 50-yard touchdown run by Josh Allen, 21-0. No, they won't survive from playing behind. There's a lot of storylines going, but I think one storyline is that if the Bills get a strong start, it's going to be a quick night for Sean Payton and the Broncos.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
There's a couple other storylines we can get into, though. I know we're jumping around here, post-game show. It's an interesting thing because we're doing post-game show, but this is really like the moratorium for the season and the very beginning, the very fringe of the Picasso's playoff push. So before we get into the actual game storylines and stuff like that, that's definitely approaching real quick. Do we want to bask in like the AFC East nonsense?
Oh yeah, I did just retweet as we were loading up for this, just the NBC Sports graphic of Miami Dolphins eliminated. I had to do it. I just had to do it. 8-9 too. Like, that was the Jets winning today. A heroic Aaron Rodgers effort, 4 touchdowns, first time in 3 years, gets his 500 touchdown. He's happy, smiling, walks out the field with Devontae Adams, maybe into the sunset, to go to 5-12, and then conversely to put down the Miami Dolphins to 8-9 on the year.
Today might have been the perfect day. We got the Dolphins eliminated. The Jets get to 5-12, so they get a slightly worser pick. And Aaron Rodgers and Devontae are going off into the sunset. You got New England, who decides for no reason. And again, I know you could talk pride, you could talk players not tanking, you could talk, everyone, but it's crazy to win that game logistically and go from the first to the fourth. It's just absolutely insane. Like, it's insane not to be calling like stretch runs with your like third string running back. You know what I mean? Like, you should absolutely have been doing everything you could have to lose the game. Instead, you're letting Joe Milton, who's like the ultimate wild card, like running all over, ultimate playmaker in that situation. Mike,
he was cooking, man.
Maybe not like a season determining game, but in a game with nothing to play for, Joe Milton's the ultimate playmaker there. And then, yeah, I mean, you have this Dolphins team, Mike, and my goodness, I mean, you could say anything you want about these AFC East teams the last 4 years. They've all found a way to achieve like terrible failures in their own way. The Dolphins are just magnificent. I mean, Mike, it wasn't too long ago that I said it was 13 months ago for the Broncos with that game. It was really only 15 months ago that the Dolphins were coming in. They had just scored 70. Mike McDaniel was rewriting the very fabric upon which NFL offenses are, DNA created and everything like that. And now you just look at these games. I mean, 32-20, they had 6 points at halftime today in a must-win game against the Jets. And I know you can talk all you want. You could talk all you want about Tua and the injuries. Did they not see that coming this year? Did they not see Tua and the injuries coming? Are the Minnesota Vikings and Kevin O'Connell, are they not turning Sam Darnold into an MVP candidate? Is that maybe an acquisition the Miami Dolphins could have been in on? Instead of going to sign Odell Beckham and kind of putting together this like dream roster of nightmares for sure. But, instead the Miami Dolphins did it to themselves. So no reason to feel bad. No reason to take pity on the Miami Dolphins. No reason to take pity on any of these teams in the AFC East, Micah. They're in the rear view. I know you probably got some, end of season thoughts, but to me, it's good riddance. And I don't care what the national media ever says again for an offseason. As long as we got Josh Allen, at the end of the day, these other teams are in some trouble.
Well, just think of like the narrative coming into this year and how it's going to be the complete opposite next year. Like going into next year, it's going to be like these AFC East teams are all suck. They're all trash, and the Bills are going to walk to the division. Like, which one of them can pull themselves out of the doldrums? Because the Jets and the Patriots are about as bad as you can get at this point. Like, the Patriots might have just set up Gerard Mayo to lose for another year, tank for another pick, and then fire him, honestly. Or wait for Mike Vrabel, evidently, whatever their plan is. The Jets have no idea what they're going to do. Like, Rodgers obviously isn't going to be around. So where do the Jets go from here? But they're already, like, having players that are going to want out. Sauce Gardner talking about he wanted out in Instagram comments, everything else. So, all right, the Jets are down there. And then what do you do if you're the Dolphins? Like, can you go into another year next year with Tua and Mike McDaniel and run it back after and we talked about it a lot going into this year. Like, they lost so much defensively. They lost so much last offseason. Everybody's like, oh, that doesn't matter, whatever. It mattered. Like, this team was soft, and that's the biggest issue with the Dolphins. So they got a lot to fix from there, because every time they play a good team or a big team, a big matchup, they wilt, and it's just who they've been. Like, and that's what it is. And the Bills just don't do that. But the Bills, we don't gotta worry about that division anymore. Like, we're with the real heavyweights now again. Like, let's talk about who we belong with, the teams that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? Where are you gonna go?
100%. It's us and those, top 5 to 6 teams for sure. It's time to begin that run towards what can hopefully become a championship. You obviously have to dethrone the Chiefs, and no conversation in winning a Super Bowl playoff push, anything doesn't involve the Chiefs. But with that said, again, it's about these next 7 days. It's about figuring out when you're playing. It's about taking on the Broncos. And the first storyline that obviously comes to surface, Micah, facing the Broncos is that this is Von Miller's former team. So Von Miller has some of the most playoff experience out of any of the Buffalo Bills roster, especially as far as winning championships, goes without saying. With that said, the Bills are going to need Von Miller in some form. I don't think they need him to be a closer. I think they really just need him to be what he was earlier this year when they got off to that strong start. We did see a flash in the game today. He came in and he got his sack that he needed for his money bonus. He seemed excited. It seemed like he could still apply pressure. I think the peripheral numbers, Micah, are saying that he is still getting pressure in the pocket. I think he had a sack in the Chiefs game, if I recall correctly. Or something. So again, he's made plays all year. He just hasn't really, like, with the suspension worked in, kind of formed like a little bit of an illusion, right? Like,
how many games? It was 3 or 4. I can't remember.
It wasn't a ton of games, to be truthful, but it just felt like it caused kind of a hole in his season. He had a great start.
We said last coming into the season that I think we did it, like, hit the button. If he got 8 sacks, would we be happy? And I think he would have been on pace with that without the suspension for sure. So I think he was delivering exactly
100% for sure. And when I think, like, again, I hate to keep going back to the Chiefs game, but it specifically involved him. We were getting a lot of pressure on Mahomes that game. We have not gotten pressure on Mahomes in those divisional games that we've lost to him, and sure, for that conference championship a couple of years ago. So that's the biggest difference, and we're going to need Von Miller healthy. The biggest thing is he'll be, like, if there was any question about him not being completely all the way in, Denver Broncos are the perfect team to get that week 1. Without a doubt. I don't think there is a question on that. It just, it's a nice little note, and it'll obviously be drummed up this week by the media, especially in the playoffs. it's kind of like the ABC storylines get really like turned up, like, to the nines for sure. With that said, do you have anything else on the Von Miller?
We'll definitely get like a Charles Davis Von Miller interview on NFL Today, with talking about playing his old team and what it would mean to him to win a Super Bowl with Buffalo. And Von will give the line where I played with Matt Stafford and Peyton Manning and Josh Allen is the MVP. He's the best. We'll get all. I
see a lot in Josh that I saw Matt and Peyton. Like things like that. Yeah, for sure. And he's trying to help him get that for sure. Like, I don't know if it's for ego. Like, no offense. Like, it wasn't that long ago. Marquez Valdez-Scantling said he was going to be the one, to help Josh get that ring. Like things definitely kind of evolved. But that'll be interesting. Do you have anything else on the Von Miller note? Because I was just going to move on to the weather situation. So I don't know what you've been looking at. It looks a little sketchy. Let me pull up the official Orchard Park weather report. But this morning it said that the forecast for 7 days out this morning was very bad. That there was going to basically be a northeastern storm that was going to affect like Pennsylvania, New York, and everything. And Western New York was basically in the eye of the winter storm. Of course. So I'm looking right now though, and I'm seeing 30 degrees with 10-mile-per-hour winds, which is something we'll definitely take, and we would sign up for 30 times out of 29. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. But I Mike, like all I ask is just know, like, if the Bills aren't going to get it on this run, just don't let it be because, we had to shuffle games around and teams got more rested. Like, let's just let the games play out is all I'm saying. I love playoff atmosphere. I know we played for home field advantage. So we obviously have these 2 games at home no matter what if we take care of our business. But let's just hope that the weather, isn't a disaster. We can actually enjoy the games.
We'll be good. I have faith. It'll be nice and clean.
Micah has faith, everybody. Let's go.
I got faith.
Yeah, besides that, I mean, it's strap-in time, man. We were talking about coming in. It is like we have been in a holding pattern since like that Chiefs – Lions gauntlet, right? We ran that. We ran Chiefs, 49ers, crushed those 2. Out of all those games, if you had told someone coming into the season, okay, they're going to go 3-1 across the Chiefs, 49ers, Rams, and Lions. If you had told anybody they're 3-1, they would put that Rams game 4th as far as laws for sure, which is hysterical. So that's why you play the games. That's why, to me, sometimes predicting the season in May, although it's great content, ends up being a little silly. But with that said, obviously, Mike, it's time to strap in. I don't know, what this week, what are we looking at for the Pay the Bills?
Pay the Bills podcast on Tuesday night, returning to its normal slate. We have Pat Duffy joining the show with the crew. So we're gonna have a good little pre-wild card chat there, and it's gonna be fun. Bunt was very fired up last week. He's very nervous about the Bills, doesn't want to play the Ravens, all that other stuff. So we'll see how he sounds this week when the playoff matchup's actually facing him. But it was last week was a great show.
Topic. That's a good topic though. I don't know if we have another one here for the post. Of course,
let's do it.
Everyone has been like hoping we're gonna play this. There's no easy way to the Super Bowl. Like when you look it back, it only became easy because of things that like happened along the way. And I think it's like, if you look at this Bills season schedule, nobody thought that the Bills schedule would be 13-4 this year, right? They ended up being 13-4.
Yep.
Like, I mean, nobody thought they were going to be that good. There were 12-5s. There were 11-6s that were optimistic, but very few 13-4s. And I think you got to look at the playoffs the same way. You got to be playing your best ball. And I think the Bills with offense, everyone is healthy on both sides of the ball. The offense is clicking beyond belief. And McDermott is finally, probably for the first time in a couple of weeks, you'd have to think, is going to really put together an actual defensive game plan. Like, were we game planning for the Patriots and the Jets the last 3 weeks, Micah? I don't really think so. I think we were playing vanilla defensive schemes with backups a lot of the time. So now we're going to get our reinforcements in. We're going to throw our lineups in, and I'm hoping that we're going to hit the gas right at the right time here.
I think so, man. And I think that this is a perfect opportunity for McDermott against a rookie quarterback to kind of flex his muscle and see what he can do here with this defense and kind of the levers he can pull and what he's been kind of holding off on with this team. But I mean, it's the biggest thing on defense, especially, is it going to be Cole Bishop or DeMar Hamlin thing, and then we'll see what happens there. But I think either way,
I was hearing Cole. I was hearing Cole across
I think, you know what, honestly, because here's the thing, like, shout out DeMar, love DeMar. I don't think he's staying. I think he's going to go play for the Steelers and go there when he can. No shade, but I think that's just what ends up happening. And Cole Bishop's clearly the future of the position. So we're in a playoff scenario. You just play the kid. Like, if he's going to be the starter next year with Rapp, just play him now and get those minutes in. He's played well enough. I don't think there's that big of a difference between him and Hamlin playing. And I think they both played, like, slightly above average. Like, I don't think they're great, but they're definitely not bad, either of them, this year. So I'd ride with Cole and go from there. It's no shade to DeMar. He's been great too. And he's a great option in case one of these guys goes down, if something happens like that too. Like, it's great to have that depth and the experience that he has. Then he becomes an asset in that way. And DeMar is just going to be and just a leader in the locker room and everything too from that point, no matter what position he is. So
I also think there's something more dynamic. Like, I would say Cole Bishop is your more boom or bust option there.
Agreed.
So if you're gonna go and keep one of them as a backup, I think DeMar Hamlin is the safer option. And I know there's all kinds of PFF numbers and stuff like that, but I just think that you need someone who's gonna make you a play in the playoffs with this McDermott defense, because I think the rest is super dependable. I think there's like a lot of things that you can depend on there. Especially against, a offense that does, like, yeah, they have Cortland Sutton, but, you should be able to attack this front 15 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, right, against the Broncos. So need someone who can definitely do that.
Ideally. But going back to the original thing you mentioned, you have to win tough games in the playoffs. And, the Ravens have to come in here and win a game too. Like, it's not just like, oh my gosh, like, these teams don't want these fan bases don't want to face the Bills and come to Buffalo either. Like, it's conversely working the same way. And I would rather just beat the Ravens. It would be beating the Ravens and beating the Chiefs. I know it doesn't matter. And like, this is Bunt's thing. He's like, who cares about that? Easiest path, the best path, blah, blah. You know what? I care. I'm vengeful. I would love for them to do it. And I am a fan of this team. I'm allowed to be. I don't care about rationale. I'm usually pretty rational. I think this is a perfectly good time to be irrational and say, I want it all. If they're going to beat these teams, leave no doubt. Beat the Ravens. You can do that. Beat the Chiefs and Arrowhead. We've seen you do it. Not in the playoffs. We've seen you do it. And any of these teams in the NFC, any of these teams, the Bills can beat those teams on any given day. Like, it's not an unlikely scenario for the Bills to get through these games. Is it going to be stressful? And are you going to be nervous? And is it going to be very tiresome to listen to national media leading up to Bills Ravens if that's the matchup in the division round? 100%. But that's what pressure is a privilege, right? Like, all this annoying stuff that you have to deal with is just kind of the trade-off for being in the position to be that you're in anyways. So that's the way I look at it. I'm welcoming the challenge. If the Ravens want to come in here and beat the Bills, then they earned it. But I don't think they can, honestly. So
this is what the Bills played all year for, was to be in this spot. So I ain't going to shy back now. Speaking of not shying back now, we got a little breaking from our guy, Ryan Fitzmagic over at Amazon.
Which camera do I need to look at? Because, Roger, I got to...
Todd's going to let you know right here.
I know what we're doing. Give him something.
Roger, I played in the NFL for 17 years.
Long time.
You know how many times I went to the playoffs, Roger?
Never. Tell him. Never.
None. Zero. Send me home to Buffalo. Woo! Send me to Buffalo to watch them beat up on the Broncos, Roger. I beg of you.
I think that's the Saturday night game. Am I crazy? I don't know when the Amazon one is, but you can hear Ryan Fitzpatrick begging Roger Goodell to set him up with that Bills game. Ryan Fitzmagic in Buffalo would be scenes for sure. Would be scenes for sure. And then
that would be amazing.
I'm just looking at, because you started talking, right? It's like I've seen this, by the way. When Mahomes got his injury, the Bills were down to plus 180 to win the AFC in some spots. They've gone back a little bit, obviously, but right now most books have them at plus 270, and they got him as the third Super Bowl favorite.
Oh, so, wait, what are the Ravens at now then?
Ravens are at plus 300 to win the AFC. Bills are at plus 270. Again, there are some that might have those a little bit different, but again, you're talking about plus 270, folks. You're talking about flipping a coin and then basically flipping a coin again. If you can guess it right twice in a row, that's how difficult the books think these odds are for the Bills. It's not very difficult at all to win the AFC. Let's go do it, and it starts with a win against the Broncos. Let's put in a good week of prep, Micah, and let's get it done.
Let's get it done.
Is there a victory Monday during a playoff week? I feel like there isn't.
Nah, we got no victory. We're just acting like this game didn't happen today. I don't know about you, but that was like whatever. It was honestly just so funny. Like Gerard Mayo just said, "Guys, go win one for me," and they said, "Sure, we'll do it."
Win one for the skipper, and then he's got the pink slip.
And you lose from 1 to 4 too. It's not even like they dropped it 2.
Bad.
You dropped 3.
They lost Shadur. They lost Shadur and Travis.
Bro literally didn't even make it to the car out of the building. They found him in the hallway probably, and were like, "Listen, buddy, see you later." But Mike Vrabel in New England or New York would be interesting. That could be an interesting thing. I don't think it would work out either place because I think the owners are both like Kraft. Maybe Kraft was never a good owner, and he just had Brady and Belichick because he's meddling quite a bit. It's in the Belichick days at the end here, and then with Mayo and everything. It's just went downhill for the Patriots. So can we say victory Monday for the official death of the Patriots? Because I feel like today was the death of the Patriots.
For the regular season and just the overall vibes for sure. I think so.
Yeah, I think so. But I'm just so excited for playoff football, and this is going to be a great slate of wild card games. And honestly, man, like we're talking about the Ravens here, and the Steelers haven't looked great, but that Steelers game, real interesting division matchup. And the Chargers, if the Chargers get by the Texans, Chargers Chiefs in the divisional round, real interesting. Harbaugh in the division in a 1-game scenario is terrifying. If I was a Chiefs fan. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but Harbaugh, that's when he is at his best, when his back's against the wall. So,
I agree for sure. And, I hate to say it, these sons of bitches, I wouldn't put it past these Harbaugh brothers doing their homework together. They're watching film, popcorn, telling each other what they did against it. I mean, it's just absolutely sickening, this possible collusion that could be taking place. But a pleasure with you colluding here on the Picasso's Post Show. Another regular season in the books, Micah. Is this your third at the helm here?
Yeah, it's crazy. We're on a crazy run here. 3rd time's the charm for a Bills Super Bowl run. That's what we need.
Let's go.
Here.
Let's do it. Come on. Let's put it in the books here. 3 wins, and then let's celebrate 2 weeks on the way to a Super Bowl. Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Hey, make sure you're checking out Picasso's Pizza anywhere regionally. Or make sure you're getting those orders in for whenever the game is. Get your orders for tomorrow, for Monday, but get your orders in, of course, for the game at any location across Western New York at picassospizza.net. And you can get it anywhere nationwide. Of course, get gold in your belly with our friends at Gold Belly. But, folks, thank you very much for tuning into the postgame show. From Micah, for me, Maniac, let's have a good night and a Go Bills good night now.
Go Bills.